Look, I told y'all, hey, if I notice something, I'm gonna bring it to y'all, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of people that I know, a lot of people who follow me are not necessarily into this kind of stuff. All right, do me a favor. If you're not into it, get into it and share it. Right, what's going on right now is something that does not, it needs to be brought attention to. We need to pay attention to what's going on. No matter what you got going on in your life, we need to pay attention to what's going on in the politics as well. We got voter fraud up again, right? Voting is a very, very big part of democracy, right? A lot of people died for it. And believe what you want. Every vote does count. Every vote does matter. July 8th in Texas, there's going to be a special session held by Greg Abbott, Governor Greg Abbott, and he's going to basically talk about a few different things, right? A special session is where he has a set agenda that he sets. It's a little different than what they call a regular session, where anything can kind of be thrown out at the table. And I read something where they had special regular sessions where they passed 400 bills in a regular session. So this is a little different. But what this is this was called due to what happened earlier in the year in May. Now, remember, Republicans are trying to pass this bill as a solution to quote unquote voter fraud, mostly in the 2020 election, right? If you remember, Trump and all his supporters are basically saying they don't believe in the vote. They didn't believe in the election. Biden lost, Trump won. And you've been hearing this for basically since the election happened. It's been 7 months now. This was November of 2020. It's now July, right? And you're still hearing about voter fraud, to the point where now Texas is another state where the Democrats are trying to fight for us wanting to vote and making it easy for people to vote. And then you have Republicans passing these, what they call restrictive bills, that are restricting the access to vote, right? Right and wrong, right? And what happened back in May is at the last hour, the Democrats did a walkout, which basically ended that session. And what they call SB 7 bill, the Senate Bill 7, was not passed due to that. Now they rescheduled this session. They have this kind of session, the special session, and that's going to be one of the 4 or 5 big topics. And of course, the governor is able to add other topics as he goes, right? So this is going to be July 8th, right? July 8th, right? We need to put pressure on these politicians to do the right thing. Right? Do the right thing. They're talking about voter fraud. Well, where's the proof in voter fraud in 2020? What solution, what problem are they trying to solve with Senate Bill 7? All right. So we have a problem that's not a problem. There's been no proof. There's been no facts of voter fraud in 2020. Right. Biden won by millions and millions of votes. Despite what Trump wants to think, he lost by millions and millions of votes, and it was a fair election. The most voter turnout, the highest voter turnout ever. And what the Republicans choose to do is to answer a problem that's not a problem. They're saying, well, there's voter fraud, so what we're going to do is we're going to pass this Senate Bill 7 to legislation. Meanwhile, they have all the states having their Republicans pushing all these other laws. There's over 389 restrictive bills in 48 states. Over 389 restrictive bills in 48 states. All right. Now, voter fraud, and then we have Senate Bill 7. And what is Senate Bill 7 and all the other bills alike? What are they saying? And y'all tell me, does shortening the time frame stop voter fraud? Shortening the time where you can vote, does that stop voter fraud from happening? Does not automatically sending an application to someone eligible to vote, so receiving something in the mail, you didn't ask for it, Republicans are saying that should be against the law. Is that an answer to voter fraud? You have states like Montana who almost had 8,000 people either register to vote or update their voter status during last year's what they call late registration period. So states like Montana and other states had what they call late registration periods, where people took advantage of that time to register and vote. Over 8,000 people in states like Montana took advantage of that last year. They won't be able to do that next year. They won't be able to do that moving forward based on Senate Bill 7. All right. So you have those type of bills, eliminating 24-hour voting, things like that are being passed. And again, what are you answering? If this is a bill that we would need, you wouldn't hear people talking negatively towards it. The issue is what is it solving? What are you solving? You're making it harder for people to vote. That's not the same as eliminating voter fraud. So what are the Democrats doing? The Democrats have a bill that they're trying to pass, and it's called the For the People Act. Now, what does it do? We have an issue where Republicans are saying there's an issue with voter fraud, even though there's no proof. But what are the Democrats trying to push? We're in a country where your vote matters. We want people to be able to express who they want to vote for. We want people to be able to do that, right? So what do the Democrats do? The For the People Act proposes internet registration, right? Puts resources towards internet registration. Automatic voter registration. Who wants to deal with doing anything to just register to vote? If I'm eligible, register me to vote. That's that simple. Same day voter registration. What's wrong with that? Right? If you are a working individual, like most of us are, if you work full time, like most of us do, then yes, you're not going to have a full day to go vote or want to take a full day or whatever it may be. You may just want to get and fit it in your time and your busy schedule, right? No matter if you have nothing to do in the world. Why would you limit when somebody can vote? If you have volunteers willing to volunteer, or if you put resources and money towards paying and funding these elections, then this wouldn't even be an issue. What problem are the Republicans trying to solve? The For the People Act by Democrats making it easier, right? Proposes internet registration, automatic voter registration, same day voter registration, creates a pilot program to offer funding to local initiatives that provide voter registration info to high school seniors. So now high school seniors will now be educated on getting registered to vote and getting them interested in taking advantage of their new right that they're going to have, which is being able to vote, because you have to be 18 to be able to do so. So now we're going to create a pilot program to offer funding to those individuals so we can get them registered and get them able to vote, and then prohibit. So the Republicans are trying, one of the bills that they're passing, they want to interfere with the election, right? They want to interfere with the election by allowing people to record and video record and things like that. These are some of the things that the Democrats and the Republicans are fighting about, are debating about. The Republicans are trying to do all this to stop something that's not even there. And this is what we're paying our politicians to do. This is what we are asking our politicians to do, is to go back and forth about something that's not a debate, right? It's not really a debate. Deep down, the people who are supporting the Republicans, deep down, they want to vote as easy as anybody else. They want to vote as easy as anybody else. All right. So we need to make sure that what we do is we spread the word on what's going on. We spread the word on what's going on. All right. 389 restrictive bills to make it harder to vote, not to make sure the system is calculating correctly. Recently in New York, there was an issue with an election. Recently in New York, I believe it was a mayor election, and 135,000 votes, dummy votes, was left in the system. They caught it within hours. It was the first ever, It was the first ever first ranked choice election in the city. They caught it within hours. That's not voter fraud. So what would be the answer to that? Well, put more resources into making sure that doesn't happen. Because if they can catch it within hours, then it can be prevented as well. That's not voter fraud. You don't hear Democrats saying, hey, voter fraud, voter fraud. How are you going to lead the very people that you want to vote, but you're making them feel like your vote doesn't count, like it doesn't matter? You have Republicans being interviewed. You have people being interviewed saying the vote doesn't matter. And then the next question is, well, if Trump would have won, would you believe that the vote had been set up? And no. Would you believe it was voter fraud then? They say no. It doesn't make sense.